The insurance adjuster says your property wasn't damaged by hail, but your contractor showed you a bunch of pictures. And it looks like it's different than it was before. So how are they denying this? Cosmetic damage? The hell is that crap? When an insurance company sends out an engineer to inspect your property for hail damage, that engineer might be looking for functional damage. He might not be looking for cosmetic damage. And now you might have cosmetic damage waivers or exclusions in your policy, but if you don't, is the engineer even being told about it? Probably not. The problem that we face is pretty clear. The term damage isn't even defined in the vast majority of policies. If they're not going to define damage, then why are they excluding certain types of damage? The reality is they shouldn't. The policy covers direct physical loss. Physical loss. That means a physical change of some kind to tangible property. So if there's a physical change in the form of granule loss on an asphalt shingle, that could be considered cosmetic damage, but it's very, very clearly written that that would be covered. And if you don't have a cosmetic damage exclusion or a cosmetic damage waiver, then they owe for that damage, especially when there's no definition in the policy. So what the heck is cosmetic damage? Well, the only way to really talk about that is to really define what functional damage is first. Functional damage. Students, please pay attention. Functional damage is damage that reduces the lifespan of the product or its functionality. Functional damage was defined by Hague Engineering. They claimed that it was a dude named Greenfield that originally defined it in the 60s, but Greenfield never used that term. Greenfield used substantial damage and superficial damage as their terminology. So I actually like those terms better. I'm going to use those to define functional damage for you. Functional damage is severe damage. Damage that changes the functionality of the material or impedes its functionality or reduces its lifespan. And cosmetic damage then would be superficial damage. It's damage. It might still be physical damage, but it isn't changing anything or causing any major problems. It's superficial. Now, if the policies defined cosmetic damage as superficial, the insurance companies would probably have an easier time of denying coverage. But they're not. They're not being very open with us. They're not explaining everything that's going on. They're just leaving us in the dark, using terminology that makes us assume certain things. So if the insurance company is coming out and they're only looking for functional damage, you better have a cosmetic damage exclusion in your policy. Because if you don't, then they're not providing a proper inspection and they're acting in bad faith. But if you do, you need to know exactly how it's defined. There are some policies that have cosmetic damage exclusions that specify marring and scratching and other things. And they might even specify what type of material the cosmetic damage applies to. It might say metal roofing and siding components, or just metal roofing components, or just roofing and siding. All of it produced by hail. So when you're looking at these other properties, there are ways to determine if there is actual functional damage. You're looking for any reason that it will stop shedding water now or in the future. If you cause any kind of damage to it that could create rust or allow rust to set in, then you have reduced the lifespan. It's functionally damaged. If the damage is superficial, superfluous, superfluous if you're British. If you've changed your aluminium panels in a superfluous fashion, then you might have cosmetic damage. Unless your policy has that cosmetic damage exclusion or waiver, your insurance company needs to be aware that they have to be looking for all damage. If you have a hail claim, you need to make sure the adjuster, if it's them doing the inspection or one of their experts, they need to notify the expert that they have to look for cosmetic damage as well. For whatever reason, they think they only have to look for functional damage when they're sent out by an insurance company, even though that language hasn't existed in any policy until recently. So how do we define functional damage? If marring and scratching is considered cosmetic, is that only because of its aesthetic change? Well, what if that aesthetic change changes something in the shingle other than its traditional lifespan, such as its serviceability? Hey, yeah, I'll be there in a second. Oh, shit! Oh. Oh my God. So the popcorn is clearly altered. It's black. It's charred. It's physically changed, but it's still edible and it's still popcorn. But wait, it is also less calories, less vitamins, and it tastes friggin' awful. I mean, it was gross. It was bad. It was really bad. So is it cosmetically changed because it hasn't changed its functionality? I don't know how to determine lifespan of popcorn, so I can't argue that point. Or is it functionally damaged or changed because it has reduced some of its sub-functions, I'll call it? The point is, there are functions of most materials that are sub-functions, like aesthetics. If granules are removed from an asphalt shingle roof or a granulated metal panel roof, it changes the appearance, the curb appeal. It could reduce the value of the home. That is a function of the granules on the shingle. Riddle me this. If an asphalt shingle loses its granules and exposes the asphalt to the UV radiation of the sun, it will evaporate its volatiles much more quickly, shrink, become more brittle, and less repairable faster. True or false? How is that not functional damage? Why am I holding up the back of my hands for this example? Hey, if you like what we're doing here, you should subscribe, like and follow, and share with as many people as you can. I really want a lot more subscribers. Get the word out about Listen to This Bull. I do this for free.